Hey, GalaxyCast team, folks, people that are watching out there, we're trying something new tonight. I am trying a new program, so have some patience with us. We've been having issues lately with the audio and the video, and I think I just solved it. I got a new program, if you're ever interested in it. It's called ManyCam, and Eric is showing how it works here.
Very wide angle HD.
Yeah, I got a nice wide angle HD out of it. It's a free program to start off with. If you want to get more bells and whistles, you pay like $40 for the bells and whistles. But for free, it's not bad. We're running 2 cameras right now. My plan is to run more later, I hope. And the other cool thing about it is I can actually eventually set up my computer screen as a camera, so you can actually watch what we're doing. So maybe if we're reviewing a scene or content.
Recently we talked about concept art, and it would have been nice to have brought that up.
Bring that up in the video. So if you went to the video, you could have jumped to that and seen what we were looking at. So, that's something we're going to be playing with later. So, as always, you're seeing the pre-video before we even start the podcast. But that's the advantage of watching the video over the audio. Okay, so you guys ready? We got lots to talk about at the beginning.
Oh, we have bunches.
Yeah. You ready, Gary?
Ready as ever.
Have you got the names up of the characters and stuff?
Yeah, I got everything right here on my internet ready to go. So I thought we'd start off with the Frank Oz bit first. So.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Hey, GalaxyCast team. As always, we have the Star Production Studio full tonight. Of course, I am with you, Bob Crissman, the host. I have with me Eric, the artist.
Hello, everyone.
And Gary, the stud.
That'd be me.
So, we have lots to talk about. We're going to get right to it. Our first point of discussion tonight is an article actually that Eric posted up on Facebook. I didn't even catch it, so you caught this, Eric. Thank you for catching it.
I think StarWars.com actually posted it.
Yeah, I'm actually reading right off of StarWars.com. Basic general gist is on StarWars.com, they talk about the fact that Yoda is going to appear on Star Wars Rebels. Let me read it real quick. It's only 2 paragraphs, not a big deal. It says, the last time we saw the Emperor's little green friend in Star Wars The Clone Wars, he was traveling to Force planets, encountering evil specters of ancient Sith, and unlocking the path to immortality. Not a bad bit of work, but there's no rest for a Jedi Master, as we'll see in Star Wars Rebels. As reported on TVGuide.com, Yoda will be featured in the upcoming Path of the Jedi episode. Since Star Wars Rebels is set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, this point in the timeline finds Yoda hiding on Dagobah after the decimation of the Jedi Order. In this episode, he'll appear only in the form of his disembodied voice, provided by Frank Oz, who voiced the Jedi Master in the 5 Star Wars films and operated the original puppet in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Communing with Kanan and Ezra, I felt personally to keep Yoda as his disembodied thing, it would confuse the audience less, executive producer Dave Filoni told TVGuide.com. I didn't want you to think Yoda could be teleporting from planet to planet. So, interesting. They think this is awesome over at StarWars.com. I think everything is awesome. I hate it when they add stuff like that. Like, we're awesome.
This is great.
This is great because we rocked it out, and that's why it's awesome. But thoughts on this? I mean, it took me by surprise, actually, to be honest with you. I didn't expect Yoda to appear on Star Wars Rebels.
I'm really hoping this isn't just a gimmick. I'm hoping there's a reason in the story. As long as there's a reason, there is, if they mix it with Kanan, and the fact that he's a exiled Jedi, and that maybe he's kind of connected to Yoda, or all the Jedi the few that are left must have some sort of communication going on of some sort, or at least keep tabs on each other as to where they may be. As long as they work it into the story and it makes sense, I'm fine with it and excited for it, because it'd be nice to hear him do Yoda again. It's nice to come back to that original. If it's a ham-fisted, shoved in for
just to say we had Frank Oz on the show.
Yeah, another way we're forcing a connection with the Star Wars, original trilogy and all those things. I won't like it. So it's gonna come down to story.
Yeah. Wait, what do you think, Gary? Do you like this idea or not?
I like the idea that Yoda's going to kind of be in it, but I don't think it should be his voice as much as it should be Yoda himself, because then it's making it so that Jedis can communicate with each other throughout
the galaxy
and all that, without really being physically connected to each other,
or even having a communication device. I guess is the implication they're making. Maybe I'm not sure if they're making that implication.
I never saw him on Dagobah with any kind of system of electronics to communicate with the outside world.
It's not like suddenly he could plug it into the tree and be like, doo-doo-doo-doo.
But here's the I mean
when Yoda can communicate with Luke and all that, or even Obi-Wan, it was as a ghost. It wasn't.
So what if he appears as a ghost? Would you be okay with that?
I'd be okay with that, but at the same time.
Well, wait, Yoda appearing as a ghost? I wouldn't be because he's not dead.
Right.
And that's where they said
that's true.
they don't want it to look like he's teleporting to a planet, so they're trying to do it as a verbal communication of some sort.
Okay.
So
I just don't like the force talking. Force talking. I guess that's what you can call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they play it out. I agree with Eric. I don't like the idea of them doing it just for the play of it. But if it fits into the storyline, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping maybe it's only a couple lines. I
have a feeling it's going to be a very small guest role.
But it's Frank Oz, and it gives me hope that it's Frank Oz. You know what I mean? They didn't pick somebody else; they picked Frank Oz.
Right.
It's not a knock on who's the guy.
Tom Kane.
Thank you, Tom Kane. I spent a whole time talking with the guy in Yoda voice. I should know. It's not a dig on Tom Kane. He was a great Yoda, but I mean to have the original back. There's just you can't. It's the original. You know what I mean?
I agree with that, but what was Frank Oz doing that he couldn't have done the Yoda voice for the Clone Wars?
Honestly, I can tell you right now. I'll tell you why he didn't do the Clone Wars. The price he was asking for, they just couldn't afford. So now they can. Well, I'm thinking
Disney bought it.
Well, first off, Disney bought it,
and they're doing everything they can to build excitement for.
They've got
Star
more
Wars
money
movie.
than they know what to do with anyway between Avengers and Star Wars.
But still,
well, I also believe part of it is he's not asking for as much because they're probably not going to have as big a role for Yoda. I mean, if you think about Clone Wars, Yoda was
in it.
Huge.
Yeah, he was in it a lot.
Huge.
Yeah, and Lucas could afford it.
Probably, and he probably could have talked Frank Oz down. I mean, that was the argument was that Lucas couldn't afford Frank Oz as Yoda. That's why Tom Kane
not really to knock Frank Oz on this one, but Tom Kane is the guy we know in the cartoons. And
Correct.
It is a different take.
It's going to be an awkward. It would be awkward for like my kids who've really not heard Yoda much. Well, I can't even say that because my kids watched the movie way too many times. But kids who are introduced to Star Wars through the Clone Wars might find it odd.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
The voicing
if,
will be different.
Do you think he'll do traditional Yoda, or do you think he'll try a little to amp it?
I think they're going to try to probably shoot the gap in between both. You know what I mean? Like not totally traditional Yoda, but maybe a little bit more modernized to an extent. I think they'll try to shoot the gap on it.
No, if they make him kind of like he's the mad exile that he was on Dagobah.
Yeah.
I might be okay with it.
That would be interesting because you
would be
only saw that version of his character for a little bit in Empire, and then he gave up that whole charade.
Well,
but
even if it's
playing that,
even if it's just the beginning of him starting to lose his mind.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I like that idea.
That actually would be a cool idea.
Well, what I'm saying is, okay, it's after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
He took a lot of Force lightning, and
oh yeah,
he got hammered by Palpatine pretty good.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Well, I also felt it was like his just isolation that kind of
I
kind of put him that way.
Well,
yeah, eventually you'd start talking to yourself.
Oh yeah,
you'd go crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that, but at the same time, Well,
and here's the thing: didn't you always feel that part of it was an act? Part of it was he was doing it because he was testing Luke.
Because it was Luke.
Yeah,
that's what I always kind of
I didn't think he was really as crazy as he was when he was grabbing the flashlight, doing all the stuff when you first met him. I figured it was a total act to be like, I'm going to be this crazy person. And it's that kind of traditional, again, Lucas playing off mythology.
Yeah.
The master kind of hidden in a fool's role at first, and then you learn, oh, that's the master.
I also kind of wonder if he did that to throw Luke off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, as part of a play, you know what I mean? To throw him off.
And at the same time, though, is, because by Return of the Jedi, he dies, right?
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes of scene.
Oh, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Return of the Jedi.
Right. What, 25 years later if you've never seen it. Spoiler alert.
God, and the ship sinks in Titanic, too.
Exactly.
Wow, okay.
So, it's
spoiler alert.
Maybe the whole dementia stuff is Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, and spoiler alert, Napoleon was short, if you didn't know that.
God. Wrong Napoleon.
Wow. Yeah, we get sued for copyright infringement. Okay. So, some more things to talk about. Recently, LFL, well, I should say Disney, I guess now, huh? Because there's really no LFL
I think we should all
anymore.
we should say Disney LFL.
Disney LFL, whatever you want to call it. Disney Luffle.
Disney
French.
Luffle.
Disney Luffle.
Italian.
It's Italian, yeah.
Fragile.
What is I mean, they don't have Disney attached. They still go by Lucasfilm.
They still go by Lucasfilm, and that's really the odd thing. They haven't officially yet attached the Disney logo to LFL.
Which makes me wonder how the beginning of Episode 7 is going to look. Is it going to be? Is it going to be
like
the Disney arched kind of kitty looking thing?
They don't do that with Marvel.
They don't.
Oh, that's true.
They don't. They don't do it. Marvel starts off with the Marvel They'll be smart if they do it that way. I mean, they're getting the money anyway. You don't need to throw your logo up there and have.
Well, and everybody knows they own Star Wars at this point.
I'm really hoping it starts with just the Lucasfilm logo. That would be nice.
But it's still going to be awkward. I don't care what anybody says. It's going to be so awkward
not hearing
to not hear the 20th Century Fox. I mean, I almost feel like Disney should buy out 20th Century Fox theme just for that movie. You know what I mean?
Do you think that, and going off subject just a little bit, do you think that John Williams will start his new orchestration with something alluding to that sound?
I think they'll come up with some sort of trumpet fanfare that's not the 20th Century Fox fan.
To bring you in.
If I were to guess, absolutely John Williams will do that.
I'm wondering.
You gotta have the drums.
And do you think it'll follow the tradition of all the others and start immediately with the crawl and no opening credits? No.
I think if they're smart, yes.
I mean, it's keeping consistency.
Yes.
Star Wars pulls away, crawl, start the movie.
It's consistency, and I can't see anybody not doing that.
The scroll's gotta stay.
It's gotta stay. I mean, seriously, I hope you guys are paying attention to that. Because, that's a big one for me. J.J. Abrams, if he doesn't do that, takes me out of the Star Wars universe.
I think he's
before we even begin the movie.
He's smart enough.
I think he's smart enough to know that that's like Star Wars, quintessential Star Wars. Yeah. Every Star Wars fans expect that.
Yeah.
So they recently released, Entertainment Weekly, right?
Yeah.
Through Entertainment Weekly, Force Awakens character cards, which
I thought was a really neat way to release their names.
And I avoided it, and it's funny because you said there's not much there, and I'm reading it right now. There's not much there.
It really gives away nothing.
Ironically, I knew some of this stuff already, so it's like this. There's really not much here.
And the cards are a throwback to the
old.
Totally.
I still have them. I have a whole stack. I have all the stacks. I have a full stack of Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and
Star Wars.
A New Hope.
I have all three.
And I kept a full set of all three, which most people, when they were kids, they got rid of them and did stupid things. But
right.
I kept my three sets. Mm-hmm. So they released the character names on character cards. So they had BB-8, the ball droid.
Which a little side mention. Did you hear?
Yes.
BB-8 is not digital.
No, he supposedly functionally functions like that.
Is a
functioning
live
droid
effect.
Right. Which tells me that, like you said, Gary, there's got to be some sort of, I think, pole stick, something in the middle of that droid holding it down.
Which Mark Hamill had fun playing with it on set.
Yeah, I heard that he was playing around with it. Like it works a lot like an R2 droid, from what I'm understanding. Bluetooth technology, all that kind of good stuff. I know the R2 Droid Club is actually clamoring already. There's a whole bunch of people trying to figure out the drive system on it. And I've actually heard that it has a magnetic drive system. So it is based on magnets, like we discussed. The head's not levitating like we discussed.
No, it's attached. It's got to be attached.
It's attached, but the actual ball rolling and all that is driven by magnets. It's not battery powered, which I said had to happen because otherwise you're running batteries on both sides, and that's a lot of weight. So anyway.
Has anyone else been thrown off by his name? I keep wanting to say BB-88. Like IG-88.
Oh,
I keep wanting to say BB-88, and I don't.
I haven't. That one hasn't thrown me off yet. I just
BB-8 beach ball 8.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
See, I was seeing him as basketball 8.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking BB as in a BB.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
The little round BB, and they call him BB-8.
Well, still, I thought I liked the name. I thought it was kind of a cool name.
Now, if it does the same voice as Twiggy, it'd be all right.
BB.
Next, they had Poe Dameron. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. He's an X-wing pilot who's played by Oscar Isaac.
I keep saying Dameron, but it's probably Dameron.
Dameron or Dameron. Of course, I pronounced Coruscant wrong for years. I used to pronounce it Coruscant.
Yeah, Coruscant.
And I think Coruscant. It was on an audio. There was a book audio where they said it like that, so I just assumed that's what it was.
Well, I remember for years we wondered how you pronounce Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
Because it was just spelled out like K-Y-S-H.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
K-S-H-Y-Y-Y-K. And you're like, what?
Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Asalamari or Y Salamari or Isalamari.
I always pronounced it as Yasalamari.
Yasalamari? See, I pronounced it as Wasalamari.
Yeah.
And I think everybody interprets it a little
bit. I've never
differently.
heard an audiobook of it to hear the problem.
Yeah, well, I should probably go listen to that audiobook.
But Poe, I like the name Poe. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Poe Dameron, however it's pronounced.
I don't know why I jumped to Edgar Allan Poe when I saw that.
That's what I did too.
Yeah. Kylo Ren. the mystery wielder of the broad saber, which I'm assuming is the Sith they're talking about.
Now, Kylo Ren to me sounds very much like one of the characters from one of the games, almost.
Really?
Yeah, I thought there was was there a Kyle in one of the games?
Kyle Katarn.
Katarn.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
so
Kyle Katarn.
It kind of reminded me of that, the Kylo.
Oh, yeah. See, I saw this shows you where my mind goes. I saw Ren, and all I could think of
Ren and Stimpy.
was Ren and Stimpy.
Baby, you idiot!
That's all I can think of. Sith, you idiot! Don't you realize there's a good side of the Force? Sorry, I don't know why, but my brain went there. You go ahead, Gary.
They're saying he's the mystery wielder of the broad saber.
Yeah.
So does that mean that he's not really a Sith?
Yeah, I know. They don't.
What if he starts off as a good guy and
jumps
changes
to the bad side? Yeah.
Oh.
Or he just isn't a Sith, just picks the saber up
and
uses it.
Yeah. He has that saber.
Yeah, he just happens to have it. I mean, that's a valid point too.
No, that would blow a lot of people up big time.
Yeah. Yeah, because all of a sudden
having a Jedi with a red saber.
Well, not only that, but all the clamoring about this broad saber, maybe it's really just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like the guy's not going to hold it for long. He's like, "Yep, that's not going to work," and he throws it down. Yeah. Ow. Rey, the scavenger, who was previously codenamed Kira, who's played by Daisy Ridley, which I'm assuming is the chick that went by on the bike.
That'd be Rey.
The footsicle.
The fudgicle rider.
Yeah. And then Finn, a man on the run, played by John Boyega.
And they put "on the run" in quotes.
Yes, quote unquote on the run. Which I think, as I told you, Gary, I told Gary I actually have the storyline. I know I shouldn't know.
And
this
don't
stuff.
tell me anything.
I know I'm not going to give anything away. But if his name is Finn, Finn means what in Italian?
End.
And remember what I said, Gary?
No.
About the end of the Jedi line?
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that's what that means. Finn is the
Well, they're
Finn.
not. I mean, they are nowhere near above putting very, very obvious references in
Right,
their names.
and I'm wondering if that's, like Vader, father.
Yeah. Darth Vader, Dark Father.
Right, Dark Father. Right, yeah. So it's I'm wondering if Finn is the end of the line of the Jedi. I saw that and I thought, that's interesting.
Reading too much into it.
Maybe I am.
Oh, because Star Wars fans don't.
Right, we don't ever interpret anything. Rey, I thought was interesting that she was previously codenamed Kira. I don't know if Kira has a significance.
Which is funny
because
because Rey doesn't give away anything, so why need a code name?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like,
it's like his real name is Steve. Okay,
but actually his middle name's George, so it's okay. But his last name's Lucas, but it's good. So anyway, I cards were cool, and I didn't have just names.
And when you see them on the cards,
yeah,
it feels like shots from the old movie.
Yeah, I mean, like
just put them in that frame.
Well, the only cool thing I like they did about them is they didn't do like in high definition quality. They scratched the cards up a little bit. Yeah. We used to do as kids. It made them look like we'd flip through them and use them a little bit,
Yeah, you looked at them.
Right, like you'd actually looked at them and used them. You know
the only set I have that isn't scratched up is I bought a complete set of Return of the Jedi in the plastic case, and I don't think I've ever opened it.
Really?
I don't even know if where it is right now, unfortunately.
That actually might be worth a pretty penny, not open anyway.
It might be.
I collected every single one of them.
Did you really?
I did that with Star Wars, the early ones.
You know what I have that a lot of
buy pack.
Yep.
You know what I have?
Trading with friends.
Yep, absolutely. You know what I have that a lot of people don't have? Burger King, with the very first series, released Star Wars cards.
Really?
I was sticker book.
The sticker. That's the where they really hard find.
I think I know someone that might have one.
Oh, yeah?
He's got a source.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But I have the cards. They actually released cards, like in sheets, and you had to buy like certain combinations of meals to get each card, and then the idea was collect the whole set. I drove my family crazy. I was like, because this came out in like 1980, I think just before Empire Strikes Back, like the year before Empire Strikes Back came out, they did this to start amping up for Empire Strikes Back, and I drove my parents nuts. I was like 4 or 5, and I'm driving my parents crazy going, we gotta go to Burger King. Let's go to Burger King. I gotta go to Burger King. You know, it was like every night.
You want Burger King?
Yeah. My brother's like, I hate Burger King. Ironically, he ended up started working there when he was 16. So, anyway. But yes, I have those cards. Those are rare, actually, and I didn't know that until I pulled them out like a few years ago and started looking up. I was like, oh, look at that. Nobody has them. I'm like the only person. Anyway. So the last thing I thought we could kind of talk about before we move on and talk about Star Wars Rebels episodes was Star Wars Rebels Season 2 has been officially announced to premiere at Celebration Anaheim, which is kind of cool. I'm I'm bummed, to be honest with you, because I know I'm not going to Celebration Anaheim, and they're going to show, I believe, following an encore screening of the series for 2 season 1 finale. So you're going to see just the first episode of it. So at least they're not seeing the whole.
They're showing the whole first episode, though.
The whole first episode, yeah. Unlike the last time where they showed like tidbits,
right?
They're actually going to show the whole first episode. So I'm a little bummed. I would have loved to have seen the first episode of season 2.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if I know LFL, they'll be like releasing that a week later on Disney XD's app or something. You know what I mean?
DVD.
Yeah, on DVD.
And then they'll add more content to it.
And they'll add Darth Vader after the fact. You know, Yoda will be dancing on his head, and Jar Jar will be in the background doing the can.
No, doing an Irish jig.
Right? Yeah. So, you know, it's cool. I'm glad they're doing it to get fans in and everything. And I have to admit, this is the first celebration in what we've been to 2 or 3 now.
I've been to 3.
You've been to 3. I've been 2.
Yep.
It's the first celebration in the last 2, now 3, that I have not been to, and I'm a little bummed about it. But at the same time, it's okay. People in the West,
the way you said that, I don't believe it.
I'm not. You know, people aren't buying it.
It's like tis but a scratch.
I'm convincing myself it's okay. Well, no, it's okay only because it's on the West Coast, and I have felt bad for people who are on the West Coast and haven't been able to see the last 4 or 5, right? Because they've been in Indianapolis, they've been in Florida,
2 in Orlando.
The first one, I think the first one was in Colorado.
Right.
Second one, third one, I think we're in Indianapolis.
We're in Indianapolis, yep.
Fourth was in Anaheim.
Yep.
Then 5 and 6 was in Florida.
So 4 was in Anaheim. That's right, 4 was in Anaheim because I remember I had a celebration party here, and we were watching like live videos it was feeding.
I wonder if they'll be doing live feed from there.
Oh, I'm sure they will. They've been doing live feed from Florida, but I was like, why bother watching live feed? I'm there. Yeah. I might have maybe we'll have a live feed party from my house again. We did one when Celebration 4 happened.
Yeah.
Everybody came over to my house. We watched all 6 Star Wars movies nonstop, and we would stop every once in a while to watch the live feed because we knew something important was coming on. So everybody, come on, we're gonna watch the premiere of blah, 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 and we'd live feed it and watch it. I'd have my laptop hooked up to the TV, and then we go back to watching the movies and just totally geek out.
It kind of reminds me of the fun of watching live Comic-Con when G4 used to do it.
Right, yes.
You'd tune in every once in a while.
I used to love G4 just for
G4?
that alone.
I miss G4.
I miss G4 too. You know what I mean? Leo Laporte, man, he was like my I Ching. When I could not figure something out on a computer, it was like, all right, let's see what Leo Laporte says about this. And I would go online, or I was one of the geeks that would like go online and get live support, and he'd talk about it on the air. There were so many times that I had written something down, and Leo Laporte addressed it on the air. I was like, "This guy is awesome," But yeah, I mean, it's a bummer, but I'm excited too because I know Anaheim. First off, Anaheim can handle the crowd that they're going to put out there. I'm not convinced Florida was really ready for the type of crowd that they expected both times. I don't think they were. I mean,
they got numbers what in the 30s.
Something like that, right? 35, I think was the.
I don't know what the exact number was. 5 was better than 6, though.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. The setup for the floor on episode 5, on Celebration 5 was better than the setup on the floor for Celebration 6. Right. I'm not quite sure what they did that changed it.
I can't. But I didn't get to see much of the floor, so
yeah. The setup on the floor of 6 was a little messed up.
Yeah, directions on how to get to the different
nobody
rooms
knew
and stuff.
anything.
Nobody knew nothing for 6.
Yeah, for 5 it was actually.
Go ask. You go up this escalator and you hit the 4th room on the left. Stuff like that.
And every time you walked out in the hall, like in the center of the hall, they had a kiosk everywhere during Celebration 5. Got to Celebration 6, and we looked that whole one day for a kiosk and could not find one anywhere. I ended up finally asking one of the people that worked like at the facility, like I think it was even a janitor or something, and he goes, "Oh yeah, there's like one kiosk, but it's on the 2nd floor over here." It was like next to the bar. Like I was like, who wants to walk up to the bar to ask where something is?
Right.
It was just kind of awkward.
And God forbid you're in armor.
Reed Pop, I hope you're listening.
And God forbid you have armor on. And
yeah,
you got a gun.
Yeah.
And every time you walked out of the dealer's room, you had to check your gun again.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They had to recheck to make sure you had the stupid orange tag on there, and which is interesting for Mando because you see, I know. Okay, I'm all about security. I get the security thing.
Here comes rant time.
It's a rant. It is a rant. I'll totally admit it is. But when you're in Mando costume and you've got I have 5 prop guns on me.
Yeah, you.
When I walk around, I have my ankle holster. I have 2 holsters at my thighs. I have 1 at my hip. And I have my rifle. And they had to check every single gun every time I left the dealer's room. Every gun to make sure there was an orange tag on it. I'm like, seriously? We could be here forever, people, if you want to check every weapon on me. You know, I mean, that was funny because that was a flip from New York Comic Con where we walked in the door like, yeah, just go ahead. Yeah. I was like, it's like I felt safer at Celebration or at Celebration than I did at New York Comic Con in that regard. But that's all right. I mean, anyway, I'll admit I'm bummed. I want to go, but I'm not going to be able to go. So
well, hopefully there can be a little live reporting from there.
Well, look at it this way, Bob.
Fingers crossed.
Look at it this way. How much money you're going to be saving?
Well, that's what my wife keeps saying.
And how not dead you're going to be when you drive across country.
This is true. This is true. Well, let me say this. If I were going to go to Anaheim, like if I had the choice, there's no way in HE double hockey sticks I would be driving. No way.
So you wouldn't be costuming at all then?
No. Actually, I wouldn't.
Yep.
I would go on a plane
for
be a complete geek and fan out. I would probably go to represent the GalaxyCast if I were going to go.
That'd be awesome.
And I wouldn't do anything else. No costuming, none of that. I would just go and bring a recorder with me and go crazy. Go balls to the walls with interviews and everything else, and we'd be set for the next 20 years.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
There would not be enough content out there to cover everything I would go for. But I have said, I reluctantly say this, but I have said that in the bigger cons, I'm starting to peel back just how much I want a costume at the bigger cons. The smaller cons, I have fun at costuming at them. Bigger cons, not so much. It's just, I don't know. Wearing armor to something like New York Comic Con, that's tough.
You know, we never talked about it. But what'd you ever think, or did we talk about it? I can't remember. What did you ever think of the was it Dave Dorman's wife, the pushback on costuming it?
We've never really talked about that, have we?
We talked about it. I don't think we talked
not
about
on
it.
the Dave Dorman thing, yeah.
Not in the air, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not to get off on a side note, but I just
that's okay.
curious,
we can talk about
as a
that.
costumer, and as some of these artists have come out and said, costuming is ruining cons. That's what they're basically saying.
Yeah.
What's your take?
Okay. I'm going to say some things that are probably going to make some people upset, so costumers, I am sorry. I think in the past 5 years, costuming has changed a lot since I started to the time now that we've been costuming. And I think costuming has gone from being a geeky hobby.
A fun hobby.
A fun hobby. A geeky fun hobby. Something to do in your pastime. To a lot of pressure. A lot of politics. And a high demand for quality, but no demand for
consistency.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Consistency. Yeah.
I mean, some costumers
Yeah.
have become celebrities, and
Absolutely.
they are now guests at shows.
Yes.
And do you think that causes everyone else to be like, I want to be that? So they're trying to, and it becomes more about what they're doing than it is about actually seeing the stuff at the con?
When I first started 5 years ago, yes, I would say that's what it was. Now, I think it's actually more about somebody trying to get their name plastered somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothers me.
I
Gary, I think you have the same viewpoint on this. Am I wrong?
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, you got the people that are not these people.
Correct.
Are seriously just plain jealous of them.
Yes.
And
I'll agree with that.
You know, it's and like I was reading on Facebook, there some Queen of the Nerds or something like that had her blog, and she slammed the top. Like Yaya Han, Jessica Naguri,
Yeah.
Ivy Doomkitty. There's one other I can't. Nicole Jean, and or whatever her name is. Her, I can't remember it.
Yeah, her pictures are over there.
They all got ridiculed for the fact that they got breast implants. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who really cares? Ivy Doom Kitty, she's a big girl.
Yeah.
I give her 100% kudos that she's wearing the outfits that she wears.
She has a lot of guts,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people forget that I think a lot of people take for granted the fact that costumers have to be really brave people, and I think people have forgotten that. It's not easy to get into. I think everybody thinks, well, they just put a costume on.
Right.
There's more to it than that. You have to have enough guts to be able to go out in public dressed like that, to be the character, to know you're going to get ridiculed. I mean, when I put Malakili on at Celebration 6, I knew. I told Gary, but we were driving there.
And you expected to get...
I totally did. I told Gary. We were driving down. Remember, I said to you, somebody's going to take a picture of me, and somebody's going to make fun of me, and I'm going to have to just be okay with that. I'm going to have to know that somebody's going to mock out the fat guy.
Right.
It's just, I expected it. I fully expected it to happen. But you have to have the fortitude, and you have to have the self-awareness to be okay with that. And not a lot of people can do that.
Right.
I think a lot of people would take what some of these people say about costumers very personally if they weren't a costumer and didn't understand where that's all coming from.
Well, to go back to the point of what these guys said about costumers, they were referencing that they called it's like becoming selfie con. It's more about taking a picture and taking group shots and being seen than it is to actually go to see the creators, and they're coming from a monetary standpoint. It very clearly admitted. They're there as business people to sell stuff and to, yes, to connect with fans and to sign and all that stuff.
Right.
But also a lot of the businesses are there because they want to sell you stuff
right.
to the fans. And the more the show becomes about, well, we're just entertaining ourselves by running around in costume and meeting friends and taking pictures, these guys say they're suffering. What do you think of that?
I kind of agree with what they're saying. Because... like at New York Comic Con, there's a lot of these professional cosplayers, I guess you could call them.
Yeah.
That were in the artist alley. They, to me, I don't think they should be in the artist alley.
They had like booths in Artist Alley?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I think they should be in a separate room from everybody else.
Like a costuming room.
Yes.
It's getting big enough that it could probably support it.
Right. Not this past year's New York Comic Con, but the year before, Yaya's was signing at like she was a booth babe for this one. One booth.
Yep.
And she had a line that was.
It wrapped around the entire dealer's floor just to get into her booth.
It wasn't the entire floor,
but pretty close to it.
It was like a good aisle length.
Right.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And the booth next to him. People just bumping into, because they're all standing in line, and you got other people that cannot say "excuse me,"
right,
or turn sideways.
See,
or they have a big ass backpack that's 4 times bigger than this table,
right,
and they just slam into people, and they get pushed into the booth and all that, and it's knocking stuff off their shelves and stuff, and possibly damaging their stuff, which I'd be mad too.
Oh yeah, very much so.
I have a bigger counter to the whole. It was Dorman, right? That said
it was his
stuff.
wife. It was his wife, and then some other artists have come out since.
Here's my other counter to it. I'll agree to an extent that costumers are probably drawing away from their attention. I also think some of the artists, some have learned how to adapt with the times, change with the cons, because cons now are not what they were when Comic Cons first began. New York Comic Con is so different now than it was from the first year it was put out.
San Diego Comic Con is not even about
San Diego Comic Con isn't even about comics anymore. Right. It's about the stinking entertainment and movie industry. And I think that's really the problem is the adaptability of these artists to adapt to the ever-changing market. Some have done well and have adapted well and are very successful and go to cons and make money, and they're fine.
Yeah.
Notice those aren't the ones saying anything.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Like, some of them did come in and say, hey, I'm doing fine. I don't know what your problem is, but I'm doing fine.
Dave Dorman's artwork is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a little too pricey for me to collect.
Oh, well, that's the thing.
He's up there now. He
is for a unique type of collector, and I don't think he understands that by pricing the things that he prices. Don't get me wrong. I love his artwork. I think it's amazing stuff. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Wish I could own it. Honestly.
Yep.
Look at my walls. It would be on the walls if I could afford it.
Hey, you do now own a piece of Dave Dorman art.
I don't.
Yes, you do.
You do. You were just giving it tonight.
Well, yes, I would. I would tonight. And that will go in a frame, and that will go on the wall around your
house. That's what I'm saying. You do own
it.
I
do.
I got to frame mine, too.
But I mean, like, okay, so with some love, Joe Caroni, $50 a pop, I can afford that. Slave Leia by Matt Bush, one of my favorite posters. I can afford to spend $80 on that numbered print signed by Matt Bush. I mean, I can afford it.
I got one I think I paid $25 for right from him.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still numbered and everything.
Right, I know, but this was like Celebration.
Yeah,
actually, I think it was Dragon Con that when I got it.
Yeah,
but I just
okay. Yeah, $50 for those prints. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's awesome artwork and all that.
Yeah.
Lower the price a little more down. Then I'm pretty sure they could sell twice as much.
Well, yeah, I agree. But Joe Caroni's
you come to that point.
Those particular prints, he deliberately only I think made $250 of each.
Yes, exactly.
And it was a limited run. I had to order them in advance, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was willing to pay $50 for a limited run. And actually, when you look at Joe's stuff at his table, that's like one of the more expensive things.
Well, it was a Celebration exclusive too.
Right, it was exclusive. Yeah. So, when you go to his table, normally you're getting prints for $25, $30, $40. That was 35 is like average, I think, for his prints. And you're right. When you price yourself at a certain price point, you are limiting your.
Dave Dorman had an awesome Hoth picture that he drew and all that.
The one with all the snowtroopers.
Yeah, Invaders there, the Imperial Guard are there and everything.
It's an amazing picture.
I would love to own that.
Yeah,
$150
for a print.
Yeah,
for
a print. It's not original art or nothing.
Yeah,
it's expensive for a print. It really,
yeah.
I mean, what's the size? I mean, first of all, even if it's poster size,
it's a big print.
Don't get me wrong.
It's probably covered from where the Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
one is
I mean that's hitting. I mean, and this is why. I mean, you can order fine art prints of famous painters for that price.
Right.
So they are doing they're doing the same thing. They're saying this is fine art. It's the same market.
Correct.
I'm aiming for those high end dealers.
Right.
There will be some people out there who will buy it, but it is for your convention market. People are not going to want to walk around with a $300 print rolled up in a tube and risk damaging it.
Right.
They're there to buy smaller niche things that appeal to their fandom.
Correct.
And that's where you got to aim yourself for some shows.
I even say like doing small things like the guy at Albany Comic Con who does those quick sketches by the table.
Yeah.
To me, that actually means more at a con like that than buying the big print. Sell the big print online. You know what I mean? Like. If you're gonna go,
I mean, have it there.
Have it
there if you want. You'll get.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll get a couple of people buying, but don't expect that to be your meat and potatoes.
That's not
it's
bread
just
butter.
not gonna. Right. It's not gonna be your meat
bread
and
and
potatoes.
butter,
Like
meat
the guy
potatoes.
near Comic Con I was talking to
We
there
must
for
be
a while.
hungry.
Yeah, we must be.
Eric Baselba.
Yes.
He used to do sketches and stuff right there at the table for like $30-$40.
Right.
Yeah. Which is a good price range for an original piece of art.
Right. He had to raise his price up to astronomical, I can't afford it prices, because the jerk that got
they take them and they sell them.
They put it on eBay and he gets twice as much money that he.
That's why I heard Adam Hughes will no longer do
at the table artwork.
Well, he will, but it's got to be personalized.
Okay.
He won't do non-personalized stuff because people will sell it, and if it's got the name like right across part of the arm and stuff, like I think he purposely probably draws onto part of the artwork so you can't remove it or cut it off or anything. Therefore, it's like, well, this is not going to sell because no one wants to buy something that's addressed to, hey, Mike, thanks for liking my art or whatever.
Now, personalize it to me. Anything.
Yeah.
I want it done that way.
Yeah. See, I like personalized artwork. I like personalized autographs. It actually upsets me when I can't get a personalized autograph.
Right.
And I know half these autographs are going to go to my son when I pass on, but he's not going to be upset about that because I know what he's going to do. He's going to take mine and add his, you know what I mean, to his personalized one. So it's okay.
So exactly what I was going to get to is the person that's going to get my collection of autographs and stuff.
Yeah.
He don't care if it's autographed to me or not.
Right, exactly.
So we got off topic, surprisingly. But to get back to it, so costuming at cons.
I don't think it's necessarily taking away from the con. I think
it's a distraction.
It can be a distraction. I absolutely think it's a distraction.
And
I don't know.
I keep coming down to this fact, though. You can't tell people how to enjoy your convention.
Right. Exactly.
They're going to enjoy it how they want to enjoy it.
Right.
You have to do, like you said, you have to figure out what your market is, aim towards that, and unfortunately, it might mean that some of these higher-end, expensive artists are not going to come anymore.
Right.
And I can see where that could start the turn downward. It could make people be like, well, I don't want to come anymore because they're losing artists and they're losing companies. And then at some point, it could hurt the con business.
Right.
But I don't know if we're at that point yet, but I could see it happening.
I think what I foresee in the future, and Gary, I think you could agree with me on this one. I foresee cons starting to split into costuming cons and comic cons.
Yeah.
And I do foresee that happening. I foresee some cons getting bigger and splitting for that reason.
I see comic cons becoming costuming comic cons.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the costumers that are still going to go to the Comic Con and dress as the comic book characters and stuff. And you just can't control it. What I see happen is you're going to see no longer comic books at conventions.
Right.
And if you lose the comic book.
You'll lose the comic book vendors in favor of other things.
They will go to. There will become other conventions then that are pure comic books.
That's what I was saying.
And they'll become much smaller.
That's what I was trying to say, like comic book specific conventions.
And that's why New York did their second Comic-Con in the spring.
Right.
They realized the entertainment was taking over.
Taking over.
And they wanted something that focused just on the art.
Right.
Right. And you're not going to get the people that want to go see the artists and stuff, their favorite comic book or whatever, you're still going to go to them.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think you're going to see the costumer going to just an all comic book.
Not as much, no.
All right. Because I don't think a lot of them are in it just to meet the creators of the stuff. They're just in it to meet the celebrities that are in it. The Chris Hemsworths, the Robert Downey Jr. people.
Yeah.
I do think comic book conventions are changing. They are an ever changing, ever
like everything
evolving
these days.
thing.
Things move fast.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem is the industry's changing. I think that the groups that are doing well are the ones that are embracing it, actually.
AC Boardwalk Con is coming up in the spring, and if anyone's looked into their convention, they are doing the World Series of Cosplay, I think it's called. They're becoming part of an official cosplay nationwide contest.
They're like Portland Comic Con and many others that are becoming part of a national circuit.
C2E2
is part of the circuit. There's a national circuit now for competing in cosplays. I see like a Super Bowl of cosplaying happen at some point.
But AC is one of them that's really embracing it and bringing in a lot. They're basically one of the conventions that a lot of these artists will not like because they're really embracing the costuming side.
I'm even saying I think bigger companies like Marvel and others who are embracing costuming are being more successful because they're embracing the costuming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can picture like a World Series, Super Bowl type thing where you have to win. You have to win
so high in certain levels in order to go to the next level.
Okay, like C2E2, right? Whoever wins that costume contest is qualified to go to the
World Series or whatever.
Well, that's the playoffs to get to the World Series.
Right. Yeah, I could totally see that happening too. Almost like the NCAA runs their basketball tournaments where you keep kind of whittling it down. Yeah.
And then eventually it'll be, okay, all the Wolverines get together, fight. Last one standing is the winner.
Yeah.
There's a rubber room. Go.
That'd be awesome.
It would be funny. but no, I agree. The companies that are adapting are actually embracing it right now. And I think that's tough because I don't think all artists understand the art of cosplay.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the tough one because there's an art behind what we do as cosplayers. And
what they see it as is, I created this character, and you're not just fandoming over it anymore. You're doing it for attention, and you're taking it away from the character, and you're making it about you. And that's what the artists, I think, are taking offense at. But you can't take offense at someone being such a fan of your work that they want to become it.
Right, and actually, I think they should see it the other way around. They should see it as an homage. We like your character so much, I want to be that character.
Exactly.
Well, I don't really. The people that are complaining about it, they're not the actual creators of the characters. Though.
Well, but I'm saying like the illustrators of certain characters. I don't know. But anyway,
like you said, when you work with a certain character, you kind of have a tendency to fall in love with that character, kind of make it your own. Like you talked about Savage. You feel like Savage is part of
I have a tiny bit of ownership of Savage.
Like even though you just did him for a celebration, you still feel like, hey, I did that guy. That's so cool, and
it's not like I even drew him on a regular basis or invented him or came up with the design.
And I get that.
I got to introduce the character in a visual form to the masses as a mural art. And to me, I feel a little bit of...
I get that because as a musician, when you perform a piece, you kind of feel like you become part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's art too.
You're an artist, not
Yes.
that. Well, let's get your side of it.
Well, like I said,
Ooh, putting him on the
it's
spot.
no.
Nice.
Here's the thing. I can
Flipped it around on him.
No, I can see where artists are saying they're upset. They're saying, it's like I said, it's the selfie mentality. It's no longer about what you're seeing at the convention. It's about me being at this convention, people seeing me. And there are probably some people out there who are like that. And then,
we know at least one.
I'm sure you know them. But again, I come down to the fact that you can't say, hey, welcome to our convention. You got to go and enjoy these things the way we want you to. You can't say that to
Right.
people coming to your convention. So unfortunately, if people are going to make it about themselves and enjoy it, you've got to find a way. If you're going to be a business person at a convention, you can't just go by the old standard of, hey, I draw a cool Batman, everyone come buy it. You've got to come up with, hey, I'm going to come up with a print of like somehow tying cosplay into Batman, and he's there, and it's whatever. Or draw a Poison Ivy surrounded by a bunch of people in Poison Ivy, costumes, and she's got them all wrapped up in vines going, there's only one. And then you get all these people coming in going, I want that because I dress as her. And then you've played to the market.
Right.
So, and then you get the people who are like, well, I just want it because it's got a bunch of sexy ladies on it. And you got to do it that way.
Yeah.
You've got to just, you got to work with it.
Greg Horn has done that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He has embraced the cosplayers.
Yeah, he's good. He's one of the people who he rocks it at a show when he
Yes.
goes to shows. He knows he's all about prints. He doesn't do anything original. He's
Right.
like, I'm selling at this show, and he is just a character, and he is he's a go-getter at the show. So I admire him for his the way he does things.
Right.
And if he likes your costume, he puts you in a pair.
I was gonna say he's taking
Oh, yeah.
pictures of me in my costume and put them in the, which I'm fine with. I'm cool with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll admit I know costumers that all they do is to show up to selfie, click.
Yeah.
Me.
I want people to look at me.
all about me, and we know several of those, Gary.
I get a name for it.
Yeah,
on that
right off
one.
the top of our head that we know very well.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, and this leads to another argument that I think we as costumers are not doing enough to make those people, this is where people hate me, feel a little bit uncomfortable for doing that.
Yep.
And we don't make them feel uncomfortable, and I think we do need to say, that's not right.
Yep.
You are not here for you.
Well,
You're here for that.
everyone's here for themselves to enjoy, but you must be
don't wanna-
respectful of the people of the.
See, this is where I say you don't want to make it obvious that you're there for you.
Right.
It should not be outwardly obvious to everybody else.
The last convention we went to, there was one guy that was just being a douche because they moved his table.
Yeah.
And he's a costumer.
And he's the only one that matters.
Exactly.
And those
Right.
people, I hate them. I don't like that attitude.
Yeah,
because you've got to realize there are.
The minute he started going off, Gary and I completely distanced ourselves from that gentleman because we're like, you know what? That is so not what we are.
Right.
And he took us to this room to change in, and we were kind of like, what's
That's
the problem?
great, yeah.
It's better than the parking lot we've changed in before. Like,
and actually, in actuality, it was better.
I liked the room.
It was better than where we used to change it.
Right.
You
I
think
agree.
then it's the star mentality. Some people see
Yes.
the people who are the superstars of cosplay who are now being invited to shows, who are now being shown as like featured guests at conventions, and these people think,
I want
that. They're jealous of it.
Mhm.
It's a star mentality.
Yep.
If I find a green there, I'm going to be pissed.
Absolutely.
It's like that's not who you are.
Right.
You've got to put yourself.
I've always said divas create divas in the music world, but I also now am convinced that's true in the cosplay world.
And that blogger also said that she tried talking to these people and they just give her the cold shoulder and everything else. Like, why do you think? Step back and think. Why are they giving you the cold shoulder?
Right.
Because the way you come up to them and demand how
certain treatment.
Right.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. I've been to shows as an artist. I've been a guest at shows.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Lucasfilm bring me to shows.
Right.
I do not think of myself as any way, shape, or form like a celebrity or anything at that show. I'm there to perform a piece of visual entertainment that people will enjoy over the course of the show.
You see it as a service.
It's a service. It's
Providing
a job.
service.
I'm doing a
Right.
service for them, and I'm honored to be there.
Right.
So I don't. I've had things where it's been like, oh, you showed up last minute. Well, we're going to put you in this corner. They've changed my position last minute. They've thrown art at me a week before a show.
Right.
I don't ever throw a diva hissy fit because it's like, I am lucky to be doing this.
Right.
And while you're doing your chalk art and all that, a person comes up and asks you how do you do certain things and stuff.
I tell them.
You sit there and you talk to them.
That's the whole point. Is
As
they're
you're doing-
seeing
as you-
live art.
As you're doing everything.
Yeah, it's about interacting with the fans on whatever level they're interested in
Right.
interacting with you at, as long as it's safe. Let's let's be honest. If you come up with a creeper or a strange person, especially the people in costume and especially the people in sexy costumes, they have to be careful as to how much they interact with someone. And they're good about making that person feel special without giving them too much. The really good ones know what they're doing, can handle that. They don't have many problems. But some people are going to want to come up to you and just see what you're doing. Some are going to want to come up and know everything about your doing.
Right.
And they're going to monopolize some of your time. And you've got to be gentle about the way you're going, well, got to get back to what I'm doing, or I got these people waiting. And you can usually mediate that. But that's what these artists have to do.
Right.
They have to deal with the fans on whatever level these people want to enjoy the show at.
Absolutely.
And that they got to find a way.
And it's from my own experience talking with some of these professional cosplayers, everybody think they put them on these pedestals as how big, awesome they are in their artwork and all that.
Yeah.
And then they start asking me what kind of paint I use for my armor and what's it made out of, how'd you make it, and everything else.
Yeah, I think
a lot of times I can't hear because I got my bucket still on. So Bob's my spokesperson.
Yeah. I usually either speak for him or I translate for him, and he lifts his helmet up a little bit and talks about, whatever it is. But, I think...
Ricky asked about the paint.
She asked me where I got it, and I gave her a website, and then I sent her my email and said, listen, if you got more questions... But, and that's the thing, like, when we went over there to talk to her, right, like, all those Mercs members were like, oh my gosh, you talked to her, that was so amazing. And I was like, she's a person like you and I.
Yeah.
It's kind of like everybody who's like, oh my gosh, it's Nichelle Nichols. And I'm kind of like, guys, first off, she's Nichelle Nichols, yes. Great. She's Uhuru from Star Trek. Mm-hmm. But she's a human being. Yeah. And I think that's where
fandom gets scary, where they put these people on a level above human.
Like, you can be excited about meeting the person. I'll admit, the first time I did an interview with Ray Park, man, I probably was like a giddy school kid.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian still talks about that story because I look like a total idiot.
Well, I still talk about the time you saw George Lucas.
No, I totally peed my pants. I know
I met Lucas for about a minute and a half. Yeah, I talked to him, and I'm sure I made a fool of myself.
Still can't believe I almost wiped out his signature off of Roxy.
Oh, someone put a signature in. Let me clean that.
Yeah. But at the same time, I have learned over the years, and I'll admit I wasn't like this at first, but over the years, that you've got to stop geeking out at some point and realize these are people. Costumers are people. Artists are people. Right. And you have to interact. And I think the artists need to understand the people on the other side of the table would actually like to interact with you. They don't want to see you just sitting there sketching away. They want to interact.
Right. I mean, if one of these artists didn't sit there with their head down in a sketchbook, looked up, saw a cool costume, went around the table, went up to that person and said, that's amazing.
Yes.
Tell me a little about it. That person is going to suddenly want to look at they're going to be like, you've just made a fan. That person's like, oh, and I love your art. And then they may tell, he's such a nice guy. And that may, even though if that person doesn't buy something, they're going to get a lot of attention to the show. And they might say, oh, go see so-and-so. He's such a cool guy.
That's Tom Hodges. When I met Tom Hodges, he loved the flames on the costume. And he took a book, flipped it over, and started sketching me out. I didn't even know he was doing it. I just happened to be talking to somebody next to him.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, that is the coolest costume I've ever seen, the coolest Mando. And he started asking me questions about it, and I was explaining it all. And he handed me the book, and he's like, here, I was sketching you because I thought it looked so cool. And I was like, oh, well, let me pay for that. And he's like, no, you don't have to. I'm like, no, I want to because this is cool that you sketched me. I'm glad somebody was so inspired that you were willing to sketch me. And I said, and besides, that's your time. You know what I mean? Like, I want to pay you for your time. But, like, ever since then, I'm like, I love Tom Hodges. I constantly talk about him everywhere I go. I'm like, I love the guy. He's a great guy. Joe Croni's the same way, you know?
When we were in the that suite up at Dragon Con.
Yeah.
And Ron Glass came.
Yeah, Ron Glass.
And he sat there and he started busting on me for eating all the chocolate chip cookies.
He's like, you the one who took all the chocolate chip cookies?
I bet you're the one who took all the chocolate chip cookies. Like, yep, I did. And I got right back.
And that was another experience for you. And I sat there. We talked with him for a good, hour, 2 hours almost. And he walked away and he kind of shook our hands. Nice to meet you, and walked away.
But now you will forever say nice things about him.
Absolutely.
And pass that word of mouth on to all sorts of people.
And you know what? I watch every TV show and movie I can find with Ron Glass in it.
Yep. And for that reason. All throughout that whole weekend at Dragon Con, whenever he saw us, he goes, "You still got those cookies, do you?" Or not?
He remembers.
Yeah, you remember the whole thing.
It's nice to connect with people on that level.
And it was kind of cool because it reminded me that all they want to do is talk with somebody like anybody else. They want to buddy with somebody like we do. We're here.
Yeah.
And they don't get that often at a convention because everybody else puts him on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Corey and I had to save James Earl Jones, not James Earl Jones, Edward James Olmos.
Yeah.
Because we're in the restaurant and these people just kept coming up and bothering him, man. He's trying to eat with his family and all that.
Yeah, it's like, give the guy a break.
Yeah, that's what we started saying. It's like, and then we just pretty much
It's like the story I've told.
blocked the table from anybody coming up.
That's like the story I told about Gigi Edgley
Yeah.
getting hit on by creepy dudes, and we went up and made those guys feel so uncomfortable they just left. You know, it's funny because, you know, when we went to Allentown, she said she didn't remember much from that experience. But on the poster, she thanked us for being the ever-loving protectors of Gigi Edgley.
And when you were telling the story, she started remembering it too. So
I think she started to remember what I said. I said we bought you a drink and then you bought us a drink. And she goes, yeah, at the bar. I said, yeah. So I think it started to click with her a little bit. But I had a completely different costume back then, so I think that was part of it.
So anyway, I took us way off track.
You know what, though? I thought it was a valid point of something we had never discussed before about the Dave Dorman experience, and I would love to hear what our fellow costumers had to say. I'm sure I said some very disengaging things.
And nothing against Dave Dorman on his art's off.
No, he is an incredible, epic, fantastic
and nothing
Star
against
Wars
his
artist.
wife either. It's just here's the important thing. I think that they started dialogue.
Yeah.
About it.
Perhaps could have done it in a slightly more
could have
tactful
done it in a
manner.
different way. But they started the dialogue, and I think the dialogue needs to be had. That discussion needs to be had about how costumers and artists interact.
Right. Well, the first thing is if you're going to take a picture, don't take a picture in front of someone's booth.
Right.
You know,
Step away.
Table.
Give them room to do what they're to do. They're there to do, just like you want to be there to do what you want to do.
I still say there should be like corners in some conventions.
Designated
for
people
pictures.
to take pictures.
You want to take my picture? Let's go to the photo corner. You know what I mean? And like make it like that.
Like I said, I think very soon you're going to be seeing the costuming room, the costuming hall,
right?
Just like you see in
Or
Artist
if you want
Alley.
pictures, go to that hallway and you can get pictures with all the people.
Costume Alley or whatever is going to happen.
Costume Alley. I like that idea. Okay, so that's what we thought about all sorts of stuff. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Head on over to GalaxyCast.com and fill in the top section there and let us know what you think of costuming and conventions and Star Wars and character names and what all did I forget? Oh, Frank Oz being in Star Wars Rebels. So
there's a lot we talked about.
Yep. So we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so there's that.
Now we got to talk about the Clone Wars for an hour. Or the Rebels for an hour.
Hopefully not an hour.
Can I give a quick plug when we come back in?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I totally forgot about it. Yeah, for those people at home, we found out that Eric's in the new Insider.
Okay, but
he's not actually.
It's not like a picture of me. They didn't even list my name.
They didn't mention his name.
And this is what I find interesting is anytime I see any of my art, be it a chalk art, mural picture,
they never
or
mention
anything,
your name, do they?
Never say illustrated by. You know, it doesn't happen.
Here, I'll try to hold it up so the people on the other camera can see. So, if you go to Star Wars Insider, page
79, I think it is.
79, yep, in the Bantha Tracks section. Here, I'll hold it up right here.
Boing.
Yeah, boing, so everybody can hear. Let's see if they can see that.
You want to?
No.
Hold on.
Here,
you can talk. You talk. I'll hold.
Okay, so Eric's going to try to get it up there so you guys can see it.
Ah.
Okay, so there we go. Yes, this
Right there, the one that Eric's pointing to, if you guys can see that. Eric drew that as a Christmas card last year, so 2013, for Reed Pop. Even though it doesn't say Eric Marischak on there, people, that's a member of the GalaxyCast team, right there. Bubba, in Star Wars Insider. So now you've made StarWars.com and Star Wars Insider.
Yes.
Man, he's getting famous.
And one of these days, they'll list my name.
I'm going to insist on it. We're going to send a picture of one of your chalk arts. I'm serious. We're going to do it.
This I was honored. This was Reed Pop asked me to draw and illustrate their Christmas card last year.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I've actually done it again this year. I forgot to bring it.
Oh yeah,
it's out. I got it in the mail, and they released the new Christmas card.
Cool.
For some people on Reed's list, you'll get it.
Specialty people.
They also email it usually as a group email to everybody, and I haven't seen that go out yet, and I haven't seen it anywhere on social. They haven't even put it on their Facebook page. I'm like, share it. Just share the picture.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful they're going to put it out there in a little bit more. People can see it. So
see now we got to put Eric on a pedestal because he's now Eric the artist.
Should we do the happy?
Can I get? I need a more comfy chair. Dang it.
Yeah, we gotta get you a throne or something now.
The Iron Throne.
Yes, my minions.
The
You may
Iron
speak.
Is there
now."
enough light on me?
Actually, it's bouncing off of your head. It might be a bad
Oh,
Okay. You guys ready to talk about Rebels here?
let's talk about Rebels.
I almost said Clone Wars. That'd have been scary.
I gotta find a hat that looks like a piece of chalk.
Cue ball. A cue ball.
No, a piece of chalk.
Piece of chalk.
Eric's gonna hate me now.
I could go get a piece of foam.
You need to get a hat that looks like one of those chalkers.
That's what I'm
that go on
saying.
the
That's what I'm
porches.
saying,
Yeah.
I know where I can get foam to make that happen.
I'm pretty sure they invent those already. But.
Okay.
I'll go home looking at it online.
All right. Here we go. And we're back, even though we are not blinded by all the baldness in the room. I think I'm the only one with the most hair in the room, aren't I?
Yeah.
I feel good about myself when I'm around you guys. I'm going to understand why.
You know what
Yeah,
though? I've been shaving this now since 2000 and I think it was 9. It got to the point where it was thin enough that I'm like, I'm just gonna buzz it. And you know what? Don't regret it. It's a better look when your hair gets thin, I think, to just go short. And I have not paid for a haircut in like 6 years.
I have thick hair, but I cut it short because I just can't stand maintaining
Dealing with it.
Yeah, it's just a pain in the butt. And yeah.
My hair gets cut once a year.
Is that it?
You're what, 4 hairs that you
About that.
All right,
But I don't do the comb over though.
No, you don't. I give you credit for that because please don't start doing that.
No one ever. We had a teacher in high school who did the comb over, and when he'd come out of the shower, like if he was in the shower,
on the wrong side.
it would hang all the way down like to one shoulder on one side.
I had a science teacher that did the comb over, and when it got wet or the wind blew or whatever, it was out a good 4 foot.
I've never understood the comb over. I really haven't.
I think that's mostly gone away.
I
now,
hope so.
but,
It's amazing what technology can do.
It's like either shave it off, wear a wig, get a toupee.
deal with it.
Okay, so now that we're back, let's quickly give Eric a plug. We forgot to mention in the first segment that Eric was in Star Wars Insider.
You might want to switch cameras so they can see
this
that.
past time around, and
If you have this issue of Star Wars Insider,
that's the one that went home. There's a different cover for the ones that were at the magazine racks.
what's the cover of the magazine?
I don't remember.
Just tell me what number that one is.
Well, it's issue number.
It's on the spine.
154, January 2015.
There you go. Eric is on page 79. He did the Reed Pop Christmas card on that page. So check it out. We actually have somebody from the GalaxyCast team being published in Star Wars Insider.
Which I find, and we were talking about this, I find it amazing that I have done 2 gigantic murals for 2 seasons of the Clone Wars, one of which appears on the DVD.
But it's not an Insider.
I have not yet been an insider for any of my Star Wars art. Come on.
We're going to fix that. Gary and I are going to fix that for you. Okay, so
I still never seen that DVD.
I haven't really found it in there either. Got to get.
I don't know
gotta
it,
get it.
so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got to own it in order to
Yeah,
buy
that's
it.
what I'm saying is I don't own it.
I got to go out and get it. Okay, so we have 2 episodes to talk about
Yes.
for this episode. The first one's called Out of Darkness, which we'll discuss, and then Empire Day will be coming later. Okay, so Out of Darkness.
We can make this real brief.
We can.
It was pitch black.
Well, I mean,
Without Vin Diesel.
all right, yeah, I mean, it basically was a rip on the movie Pitch Black. And for anybody who's seen the movie Pitch Black, you know exactly what we're talking about. There's creatures that look like bats that are in this base.
Old base that's been abandoned.
Right, that they're going to what are they doing at the base?
Fulcrum, the
That's
guy
right,
that's their contact,
Right.
has told them to go there to pick up these secret packages. And they start the episode off being mostly about Sabine and Hera, and the fact that Sabine can't really trust them, and she wants to know more. And Hera keeps saying, "You've got to just have faith and trust in me that we can't tell you everything yet, and I can't tell you who this Fulcrum is." But she comes down to help her load the packages. But because their ship was damaged in the beginning of the episode, they're stuck there.
Yeah, she pretty much forced herself to go on.
Yeah, she inserted herself.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they're exploring this idea that maybe they don't trust each other as much as we all thought they did. You know what I mean? I did like that idea that maybe Sabine doesn't trust everybody. Maybe she is starting to question where they're getting their intel from.
Well, and they threw.
We never really do find out who Fulcrum is.
No, we don't. And they threw one single sentence in later in the episode that you found very interesting that rewrote a part of the extended universe.
Yes.
Which was harkening back to why she has trust issues.
Right, because she said that she worked for the Empire on Mandalore, and I was like, whoa.
She went to the
Empire Academy, right?
On Mandalore.
On Mandalore. Which
so it's like every planet has an academy.
Right.
But that's not how Mandalore worked.
Well, and it's not how the Imperial Academy was supposed to work, right, Gary? I mean, the way I understood was the Imperial Academy was Coruscant.
It was centralized.
And people,
I always
it
thought
was
that,
centralized, and people got sent to the academy, which, like, when Luke whined about wanting to go to the... No, it wasn't Luke. It was... because it wasn't actually in the movie, but what's his face?
Biggs, Darth
Biggs.
Vader.
Right, when he went to the academy, you got the impression he went away.
Well, Luke
academy.
is talking about.
He
going
did.
to
He
the
wants to go.
academy.
Yes, he wants to go to the academy,
And
right.
you can go next season after the harvest.
And but they make it sound like the academy's
Somewhere else.
galaxies away, right? I mean, like, to me, I always kind of got that impression. So I don't know, maybe.
Well, maybe there was one on Tatooine and we just never knew it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we assumed that, and I guess I assumed that, and it just never dawned on me that there might be an academy.
I also assumed that Mandalorians
would never have been recruited.
part of the recruitment process. They
Right.
worked on their own.
Right.
They were their own thing.
Because that was the whole point of Boba Fett, was he was supposed to... I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, I know the EU is now blown up. But Boba Fett was supposed to be gathering the Mandalorians to try to bring them back together like they used to be.
Well, since all
days have passed.
that's been kaput, all right.
Yeah, I guess it just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all.
We still don't know what Boba Fett is.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I
He's
guess
just a clone of Jango Fett.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I guess
that's all we really know.
That's the cool thing now with the EU being blown up. Boba Fett goes back to being a mystery. Because now all that stuff that was revealed really doesn't matter because it really isn't true.
And the one part I like that everybody's going to hate me about this now, he's dead.
In the Sarlacc pit. I absolutely agree with you. He died in the Sarlacc pit.
Yep.
Let's leave it like
Whereas in the extended, he escaped. And
Yep.
Yeah. Well, again, that's blown up. So I kind of I hope they keep it that way.
Right.
Just leave him dead. It's not that I hate Boba Fett.
However,
I like Boba Fett, but
in
keep him
the
dead.
actual canon, Darth Maul survived getting cut in half.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
can handle
Boba Fett couldn't get out of.
I can handle Darth Maul surviving being cut in half and Boba Fett dying. I can handle that.
Okay.
I can put up with it. It's not the most perfect universe in the world, but I can put up with it. I put up with it.
I like that statement. It's not the most perfect universe in the world.
See how I
No, the
got to
question.
think traditionally.
I like that.
No, the question I got is, if they do make a Boba Fett movie, they might show him escaping the Sarlacc.
And that will upset me. I'd rather they just stick to Boba Fett.
Depends
The
on-
rumor is that
depends on
movie is
how
going to
they
be
do
about Boba Fett working
Before.
with Bossk and all those other guys.
The early bounty hunter days.
That's what the rumor is.
Right.
But
I would be cool with that. But
Those still possibly could do.
I know. Okay, we're getting off topic again. Stay on topic. Stay on topic. Okay, so
So basically, back to Pitch Black.
basically on this planet that they go to, well, it's an asteroid, I guess, right?
Yeah, large asteroid floating in an asteroid belt.
large asteroid.
And because there's so many asteroids around it, the sunlight is constantly
going
being
in and out.
blocked out by asteroids.
And then there's these weird kind of bat-like creatures that live in the dark that
Yes.
basically they're trying to escape from, and they need to get back to the ghost, but they need to survive against the creatures.
Because the ghost is out of gas.
Right.
And here's my problem with that. Yes, they discover that the ghost was out of gas by running a diagnostic.
Right.
But I'm sorry, you do not have to take your car to a mechanic to find out it's low on gas. A light comes on the dashboard. There's nothing that tells them low on fuel in the
Right.
thing as they're flying along. You have to run a diagnostic to
I
find
mean, I
that
even
out.
have a low fuel gauge on my car that blinks when
Exactly.
fuel's low.
Or even smell the odor of it. I know they're in space and all
Yeah,
that, but
when they landed-
when they
dock-
landed, when you see a pool
Or
of
docked.
gas,
No, you're right,
when they
docked.
docked
It was
on the
leaking.
ship,
It was
right?
leaking.
yeah, it was leaking
then.
then. That's true. You'd be smelling the
You'd
gas
smell
then,
some-
right?
You'd have an odor.
So unfortunately, that was a MacGuffin to get them to the planet and get them stuck
Stuck
there,
there.
and it should have been. It could have been done differently, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. So anyway, in the process, they decide they've got to escape. Of course, now they called the ghost for help, and they're trying to fight off these bat-like creatures at the same time. I thought their little plan was kind of cool. As they had barrels of, was it rhodium?
yeah.
They had.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we hold up for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it just me, or is anybody else getting tired of the childish crap that's going on between Ezra, the droid, and the naked Wookiee?
Well, the three of them being like
yeah.
comic relief every time they interact with each other.
Well, and beating each other up. and
Yeah, it's
everything,
like
you know?
it's a little too over the top in terms of not a little. It's a lot when like Ezra jumps on on what's his name there, and I can't think of the name of the
Chopper,
and starts beating him with a wrench, and they're zooming around in cartoon fashion.
I
and-
still go back to I think we keep forgetting
I
the audience.
No,
It's not even teenagers; it's young kids.
I don't. That's anymore. That's an escape. That's just an excuse.
Kids
I
are
know what
smarter
you're
than
saying.
that. I mean, look at the 8 cartoons we watched when we were kids. And actually, no, that's a bad example because a lot of them did really, really childish stuff, and we
like
still
Smurfs.
enjoyed them. Yeah, but
about Smurfs.
well, I'm even thinking about the bigger ones like GI Joe and stuff
Right.
like that, where it did cool stuff. But then it's like every single person that got shot at had a parachute when they came out of a plane. No one
Right.
ever died. Blah, blah. So I understand they're aiming it for kids, but I come back to kids are smarter than they're giving them credit for. They don't need to play it that kiddie to appeal to the kids.
Now, if they just like knock Chopper over and let him be like a turtle, or you can't get back up
or
something. I could live with that, but like Eric said, you hop straight up on top of the damn thing and starts beating it with a wrench.
I guess that didn't bother me as much as.
I'm just getting tired of it.
I know what you're saying. I'm not saying I like it.
Every episode.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Like that. That's not a substitution for character development. And that's what they're doing. They're making their animosity towards each other in a kind of big brother, little brother fight with each other way. That's substituting character development between the characters, and I need more than that.
You know what's actually bothering me?
To me, and Mike's probably going to get mad at me when I say this, it's piss poor writing.
Okay.
Yeah, I can kind of agree.
The thing that's bothering me, and it's been bothering me more and more as we've been going throughout the season, there doesn't seem to be a thread connecting all the stories.
No,
you know
so far it's
just kind of random.
It's kind of like the first half of the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It didn't connect. It was setting up things, and maybe this is too. I'm sure Fulcrum is a setup.
Yeah.
I'm sure the one kid from the couple episodes ago who stayed at the academy is a setup. They're planting seeds, but it still feels so.
It just doesn't feel like there's seeds being connected. It's just so. They got to start doing something quick to start making some connections, or I'm gonna start losing interest quickly. Yeah.
Do you think if it was if it wasn't for the podcast, would you be following this?
I wouldn't.
Honestly, no. You notice how I haven't.
Thank you, folks. Good night. We just admitted there's no point for this podcast.
No. Well, here's the thing. Like, if you've noticed, I have not been watching the episodes prior to us recording.
And you did with Clone Wars.
If you remember with Clone Wars, I was because there were episodes where I was like, I got to see what happens next. I can't wait till the podcast. This show, I'm kind of like, I can wait.
Yeah.
Now, I'll admit the end of the next episode, I was kind of like, I got to watch the next one.
Yeah, I want to see what happens.
But, it was, up until this point, there was never been a point where I was kind of like at the edge of a cliff going, man, that's awesome. What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
None of those have really happened yet, and yeah, that's disappointing. It is.
Okay, back to the asteroid.
Back to the asteroid. So the asteroid covers up the sun, huge asteroid.
And they set up explosive barrels.
Now, now I brought up this question. I don't know if you heard me when we were watching it. Okay, it's an abandoned base. Pirates, when they came to this base and tried stealing them.
Steal the barrels?
All these explosives.
Yeah, I know. It just did seem a little unrealistic to be just sitting out there conveniently.
A lot of it, too.
A lot of it, yeah.
Regardless if they get these pitch black monsters or not.
Right. Well, and I had another thought, too. If you were really smart, why not put the barrels in one big wall? Lure them all out all at the same time.
Which they kind of did at the end. They had it set up to
kind of do
a chain reaction.
That way you could do it like right as they come out.
Well, think about it. The way the monsters came out. They almost came out in waves.
Yeah,
so if you shot and blew it up in one shot, then you kind of the rest coming out after.
Unless you put it in the entrance of the.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
The base and just
like the actual entrance. Yeah, like brought it all down on top of them. I mean, but that wouldn't have made a great episode either.
But then they just sitting there twiddling their thumbs or doing something else,
So the ghost shows up and they try to rescue them, and it was interesting that
I did like the fact that when the ghost came in, and the light was shining on him.
It didn't work.
It was like, ooh, it's not hurting.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, and they kept coming. Yeah. And there was an okay moment at the end there where Sabine had to shoot and take the creature off of Ezra, and she kind of paused and hesitated because it was right on top of him, and he felt like she rescued him, and he got a little starry-eyed.
You definitely could see a little bit of a connection going on between the two of them.
They're trying to set it up again. Yeah.
And I like the interaction between Hera and Kanan now because, I mean, there's been a lot of
she even called him darling. She called him darling this episode.
Yep. And then the whole nobody knows my ship like I know my ship.
Yeah,
you don't know my ship. Yeah. I was like, whoa, double entendre if you didn't catch that.
Maybe I'll show you my docking bay some point.
And when she's saying that, she's pushing her chest into his face.
No, that's what. Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like that too.
But the one thing bothers me too is Ezra's little slingshot thing.
Yeah, it's a wimpy little gizmo, but it's wimpy for some people, but not others. Like Stormtroopers, it kicks their butt. But it was like really wimpy against these creatures, so that's why I don't understand.
I like that, all right, but because what is it?
I'll agree.
To me, it's the boomers from Naboo.
They seem very random. They seemed very random, and this seems very random.
It's the kids. It literally is
a slingshot.
It's the kids' slingshot from the Herculoids.
Oh, yeah. I
It
guess
fired
I didn't think
energy
about
balls that
Yeah.
were limitless. It's the exact same weapon.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I'll agree with you. Either
because that's bothering me too.
Yeah, either it's really cool and they should use it more often, or don't use it at all. I guess that's where I'm at.
Show them putting something in it, like a projectile that when he pulls it back, it energizes it.
Even if it's just a rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, show him like he has to pick something up in order to make it happen. All right, so that was that episode.
Well, let's see. Was there anything we're forgetting? So they get back on the ship. They take off.
And
Um,
well, and Hera and Sabine have a discussion about the trust and the fact that Sabine's got to trust Hera at some point.
And the three clowns apologize for nearly getting them killed.
Yeah.
There is also a moment, which might come important later, where Hera talks about we're not in this fight alone.
Right.
There
she
will
keeps
be help.
mentioning it.
Yeah. So they know something. They're connected with some people.
So, if we're going to read this episode, I guess I'll start, because I'll start. If I'm going to rate this 0 to 10, this one would actually be like a 5. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't a bad episode. A little too pitch blacky for me. I didn't mind the goofing around. I actually kind of liked the double entendres that Hera kept throwing out there. Not the most spectacular episode in the world, but not like some of the bad ones we've seen either. I mean, at least there was some action.
Droids episode.
Yeah, it wasn't droids for sure. There was some action. There was some plot line to it. It didn't intersperse with the other stuff, but a good 5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5 too, Bob.
Yeah,
and the only reason why is the bonding between two characters.
Between Hera and Sabine, yeah.
We haven't had any of that.
Right.
We haven't had anything with Sabine, really. This was actually her first chance to
not just
do
Sabine.
something.
Not just Sabine, but...
And Hera, too, yeah.
Well, not just that. It's the first bonding of characters.
Right, where you see characters actually fighting each other first and then getting together and agreeing at the end that they need to come together in the middle.
Yeah.
Eric, what would you give this episode?
I was going to give it a 4. Simply because I got to give it points off.
Wow,
it's
Eric's
just,
below us.
Yeah, it's just
Below me.
such a blatant pitch black ripoff.
No, I agree
which
with
I
that.
know a lot. If the audience they're aiming for probably shouldn't be seeing Pitch Black because it's an R-rated movie.
Probably,
but at the same point,
are they?
All the parents are watching it, sitting there going, "This is pitch goddamn black." So
and then get what's that?
Nothing.
It's pitch black. Well, what's that?
So points off for that. Points off for the Ghost not having a low fuel light on the dashboard in the cockpit.
An idiot light.
Because that I would think would be in the spaceship. And just it didn't advance. It hinted at things, but didn't really advance anything.
Right.
And I know it was mostly a setup that we got to put Hera and Sabine in some sort of situation by themselves where they're going to be stuck for about 20 minutes of the episode so we can get some talking between the two and build it. Yeah, and that's it. It was a setup for that.
And we got to get girl fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I kind of saw this episode as a lead-in to get some females into the episode.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the advantage the Clone Wars had. I mean, right off the bat, I think a lot of girls, including my oldest daughter, grabbed on to Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get that impression from these characters that girls would all of a sudden just latch on to Hera and Sabine. At least not yet.
They need more. They need to be stronger characters.
I agree with you. They're kind of weak and wimpy right now. They need to present strong female characters.
All 5 of them are weak.
I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
But
even Kanan is a Jedi.
Yeah, it's not.
Doesn't seem to be able to
Jedi.
do much against an average Empire.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that bothers me. He's got to screw his light bulb into his
lightsaber. Yeah.
His super thin lightsaber. I don't like how thin.
Yeah, I don't like how
is.
thin the lightsabers are. Period.
It's like before you can use it, he's got to put the batteries in it.
It's like, wait a second, I got one backwards. I hate when I do that.
Negative to negative, positive to positive. Got it. Okay.
Click. Let's go.
Oh, crap. There's a triple A and a double A.
Okay, so let's talk about the next episode titled Empire Day.
Dun, dun,
Now,
dun.
I thought this one of the two was actually the better of the two.
Yes.
I mean, by far.
This is by far the best episode of
the season so far.
You're gonna be hearing higher scores on this one.
Absolutely. This episode had me in, and it's ironic because I was getting tired. I really was like, oh my gosh, not another
We got to do a second
We got to do a
episode.
second one. I was like, how am I going to stay awake? And then almost from like the minute it started,
I liked
was in.
the TIE fighter troopers coming into the bar, forcing the guy to turn on the Empire's feed.
Yep.
There was some nice comedy in there with the guy going, well, I can't turn it off. It's the law, even though it was an overdone joke.
Yeah.
But I liked that feed was playing and gave you some backstory on what Empire Day is.
You had to point out, Gary, that was almost like a direct reference to Judge Dredd.
Oh, yeah.
But they got these other stormtroopers, the half scout, half snowtrooper.
Yeah.
They could have done that too.
Yeah.
Why would they send the elite?
The TIE pilots, you mean?
Well, maybe they were arriving in for the parade.
Yeah. Besides, there's a TIE pilot. Why do you have a problem with TIE pilot?
Because I don't have that costume. So
that's why. Okay.
Snowtrooper, damn it.
So anyway,
we learned they're hunting one of Ezra's
friends,
older friends.
A Rhodian that they're looking for.
Who's yellow, not green. And it seemed to take them a long time every time they look at the photo. No, this
doesn't
one's
look like
green.
him. Yeah.
He's a little yellower.
But then when you meet him, he's green.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Well, because they're going on is is there something that a Rhodian could have that could totally distinguish him from another Rhodian? I mean,
yeah, Lobot's head.
Do you get what I'm saying, right?
I swear to God, that is a Lobot.
It looks like the Lobot.
I think it was.
I think it was. I absolutely think it was. Like maybe that was the test computer for the Lobot computer later. Or maybe it's the one that ends up on Lobot. Who knows?
Maybe it is Lobot.
Maybe he goes disco dancing later, But
I love that moment in Robot Chicken. That had me laughing for 5 minutes. Came out of nowhere.
But I liked some of the references in the episode too. Like the reference to the Sanar production company. Yeah. That to me was a huge reference because Sanar was huge in the EU for developing all sorts of ships and all sorts of weaponry.
Well, not that, but it gives the credibility for who actually is making the TIE fighters and stuff.
Right. The only thing that would have made that whole scene better, because I was so convinced it was him.
If it was Baron Fell.
If it was Baron Fell. Next to the... If it would have been Baron Fell, I'd be like, oh, that's so awesome!
Or
like, they totally would have bought me in.
Or if it wasn't Baron Fell, just have a relative of his or something.
Yeah, just like his father. You know what I mean?
Drop the Fell name.
Yeah, drop a Fell name in there, and you would have had so many TIE pilots like clamoring about this episode. They would have been like, scratching at the TV going, yes. Yep. But, they could have made that up better. But it wasn't bad either. He had the Baron Fell style costume on with the red stripes and everything, the red kill stripes, which awesome. I thought that was cool. The whole episode, I thought, had some great action moments in it when they decide to blow up the Sanar arms ship.
Yeah, the new modified.
I thought was a cool way to kind of, hey, we're going to celebrate Empire Day our way.
Yeah, not to go back a little bit, but even the bar itself had the
Yoda's dancing on camera.
Yoda's dancing as my dog's trying to get through. There he is.
when they show the outside of the bar and all that, you got the nose of the dropship.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the nose of the gunship. Yeah, they made little Clone Wars references all throughout this episode, just small ones,
and the clone helmet behind the bar.
Yeah, behind the bar. Yeah, like it was an old relic or something.
Yeah, from Geonosis too.
Right. Yeah. So I thought there were some cool references like that.
They definitely did.
So they blow up the ship basically to ruin Empire Day for everybody.
Yep.
Which was an interesting. Let's risk the entire team right there in the square to blow up the ship, and that's it. It's like that was their original plan before they ran into the Rhodian.
And then on top of all that, the bad guy, the Inquisitor is there, and the Imperial officer, I forget that guy's name, Callus,
the guy, Mutton Chop.
Mutton Chops. They were both there, and I thought it was pretty cool that they took a shot, even though they were way off.
I was like, shoot him.
Yeah, and shooting at the Inquisitor. I mean, that was pretty bold when you think about it.
It still would have been awesome if he ignited his lightsaber, deflected it, or like you were saying.
I thought it would have been cool if you just done the Darth Vader block it with his hand.
Yeah, that would have been good.
To me, I'd have been like, "Whoa!"
Catch it and throw it down on the ground.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't bad either. But what they did, but I mean, there could have been a cooler shot at that moment. Right. But so they end up chasing after them, and I found it funny that they realized they're not going to be able to hide the Wookiee, but we'll get the other three to hide. So Ezra says, "I can hide you three." And the Wookiee type character, he goes off. What's his name? I always forget. Zeb ends up going off and hooking up with the ghost.
Does a Spider-Man impersonation.
Right, pretty much. Walks up, wall crawls, and goes away.
And one thing we skipped over was there was the beginning of the episode, which was actually a moment I liked, where Kanan was trying to teach Ezra to identify with other living Force elements, and that great little creature comes jumping out of the high grass, which I think totally.
Tell me that didn't look like Snarf.
If anyone is familiar with the artwork of, I think his name is.
Here goes Yoda.
Yoda just terrified your dog by wiggling, and he jumped back. I wish watch the video on YouTube, people. You will find this entertaining. So, the little creature jumped out. Which, if you've ever seen the concept, he's a concept in a illustrator named, I think, Terry Chu. CHU is his name.
Yeah,
he does these little fuzzy-faced, round-faced.
Yeah, they're like little chibi things, right?
But they've also got like this mean streak to them with sharp teeth and claws. I swear to God, he probably designed that character. So the thing comes out, and Kanan makes the connection with it, and the thing's suddenly purring like a cat. And I thought that was a hilarious edit where they cut back to it, and it's just looking up
to being,
and I thought that was really well done. And so that led into Ezra I'm having a bad day, and I want to know more. Why are you having a bad day? And we come to find out.
Sorry.
We come to find out as they're escaping and they go into a building. It's his old home.
Right. It's his home. Yeah.
And he thinks that his buddy will be hiding out there. That this is where the guy would go, and that today, Empire Day, is his birthday,
which is significant on many levels. Because now we find out Empire Day is the day that Palpatine took over the Empire. The clones fell. The Jedi Temple fell. I mean, all this stuff happened.
The clones didn't fall. The Jedi did.
The Jedi fell, basically. I thought that's interesting. That's foretelling, I think, that he's born on the day that everything bad happened.
Yeah.
And maybe they're trying... You see, this is the first time I kind of feel like, okay, now we've got a thread we're trying to start follow, because... Where are we going with this?
It's like that whole prophesized one.
Right.
Almost.
What's the significance of being born on the day that everything fell? I think that's what they're trying to now shoot as the thread throughout the rest of the show, or could be the thread they could be going after, which is a cool thread.
Yeah. And they also throw in that his parents used to be underground broadcasters who...
Yeah, almost like ham radio operators.
Who railed against the...
Podcasters,
underground
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know any of those.
Who
went
against the Empire, and that they vanished 8 years ago, taken by the Empire, and haven't been seen again.
Yes,
and this is one of the reasons why he's a moody little street kid.
Here's another question. The voices that he's hearing, was his parents Jedi or?
There's one of two things. Either A, they're talented in the Force, and he really heard them.
Yeah.
Well, one of three things. That's one. Two, they're dead, and he heard their Force ghosts.
Right.
Three, he's nuts.
I'd like to go with three. No, I'm sorry. Actually, I think two would actually be kind of cool.
It seems like that might be where they're headed.
That he's hearing the Force ghost kind of thing.
Although, if we're going to be, as we talked about in the previous episode, or early in the news notes, if we're going to be hearing Yoda being able to get his voice to people cross-planetary, maybe his parents just did that, and that's the first lead-in.
Yep, and that was the first time we've heard that. Yeah. Again, that would be cool.
Could go a couple ways.
Yeah.
Or is it just memories that he just remembered when growing up?
Right.
And it could have been that, too. So, yeah, there's 4 possibilities. I go with 3.
We'll just keep adding. So,
fifth, he may have hit a button on a recording and was listening to the
there you go.
6, it was actually Zeb talking to him.
Yes. I can do a pretty good impersonation of his parents. Listen.
I'm going to go one step further. 7, he was actually Star-Lord. And he had his tape player in. That's what it was.
There you go.
So you pick one of these choices.
You win, Bob.
Thank you. I tried. So anyway, we go on with the episode. They find the Rodian, and they discover, because he's got the Lobot computer on his head, that he knows something. So they start.
He knows a lot more than something.
Yeah, and they start trying to hack through it, and Sabine basically discovers.
And he's all Rain Manning it out right there.
Rain Manning.
Basically, can't get anything out of him. He's talking in another language, then English, and then
he's.
And he made a Jabba reference somewhere along the Jabba no Dada. Yeah, it's like what? But I thought it was kind of cool that they find out that he basically has all the schematics to all of the Imperial walkers and new TIE fighters that they're putting together and all the new stuff.
Plus information on deployments.
Plus how they're going to deploy things, where they're going to deploy things.
What would have been neat to see a Death Star in there.
That's what I wonder.
Well, I'm wondering if eventually they're going to start working towards that. You know what I mean? Like that's how the Death Star plans start, is through this Rodian somewhere along the way, which would be cool. But
somehow the Bothans are gonna.
Yeah,
many of them are gonna die.
But,
yeah.
but that was in
that was Return of the Jedi.
Right. By then, that was the second. Oh, that was the second one.
Right. So
because Princess Leia has put the
she's
got to
be
her ATM card in
R2D2, right, in order to transfer it. So so lots of information there, and now they realize why the Empire needs this guy so bad.
Or was it her punch card? That's what they were using back in the 70s.
Right. Yeah, all she needed to know was what 1 + 1 was, and R2D2 could not calculate it. So anyway, so we go on, and they decide they need to get the Rodian off the planet too. They now need him, and the Empire needs him, and so they decide they've got to get him off the planet. They basically
there's that nice moment where Sabine shoots the stormtrooper, and the one guy just goes, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
but the other guy got plastered up against the wall
and frozen too, like a midair. Like it was like. I don't know why I laughed at that, but it just seemed like an odd moment, you know?
Because the stormtrooper just didn't fall down.
Right. He kind of like froze in midair against the wall, and it just, I don't know.
No, I just started a new theory now. The stormtroopers, they can't shoot, and then when they get killed, they just put a new suit on.
New suit on them, yeah.
No, just like in the Robot Chicken there.
Yeah.
Vader doesn't really choke anybody. They just
they're just changing.
So everyone knows Vader really can't choke anyone. So we'll pretend, and then I'll put on a mustache. There are such classics in those shows. Sorry for the going off.
Oh no, it's that one deserved to go off topic.
That's awesome. I love that moment.
So anyway,
they steal a troop transport.
They steal a troop transport,
armored like a tank.
It is a tank.
Well, it's supposed to be the tank.
But really, I was impressed.
They're supposed to be that armored. Actually, they are really supposed to be heavily armored. But I thought it was interesting that we had almost a Smokey and a Bandit moment.
Yeah,
well, I mean seriously.
Okay, it's a tank, but at the same time, I think a TIE fighter could
take it down, or at least should be able to take it down.
What they had 2 walkers, a bunch of stormtroopers, and another tank. Troop transport blocking the road, and all that, firing at a single thing coming up a 1-lane road that it can't get out of because there's barriers on either side. They hit it like once.
Yeah, that's kamikaze curve construction. That's what's
that's basically what.
K-rail on both sides. Can't get anywhere.
For those of you who don't know, we made a local reference. Kamikaze curve is a very tight turn that's being straightened out on a highway near us, and right now they've got those exact kind of barriers that were in this episode lining the highway, so as you're driving through, it's like I can't turn more than 2 feet left or right.
My biggest fear is like breaking down in that area, because if you break down, you're screwed.
If there's an accident,
there was one this week.
Yeah, it's backed up for miles.
Yeah, they backed it up for almost 3 hours and it's because a truck tipped over on top of the K-rail.
So there's the bad design on this planet is in having roads like that. Is there? If there's a single
accident,
learn
from Binghamton at all. I swear.
Come on.
So anyway, they start barreling at it, and I thought it was interesting. It was like Speed. We're not going to back off. More power. Like they go flying at the thing. I was waiting for a Dukes of Hazzard moment. I was waiting for a Smokey and the Bandit moment.
Well, even like the new Dukes of Hazzard movie when it came out years ago, when the Cadillac goes through those cop cars.
Yeah.
It broke through, but at the same time,
it slowed down.
Yeah, it went
this
from
didn't slow down
to 10.
2. Yeah, no, I'll agree with you there. This one didn't slow down at all.
And that is one of the problems I have with this show in general, and I've said it before with kind of either the fights or the movements. Things don't feel solid enough. And this is purely an animation critique.
Yeah, there's no physics in Star Wars.
No, and I had this problem back with the new trilogy, when they went digital, and they did the battle droids.
Yes.
I was okay with them, but then every single time they got knocked over, you'd expect to hear like a hard metal clunking, and you feel some weight. And no, they're like click, 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 and like they'd bounce, and there'd be this clicking noise, and they felt like they had no weight to them.
Right.
So I feel like these animations are the same thing. They just don't have that kind of strength.
I think the battle droids had no weight to them, but the super battle droids and the droidicas and all that, they should have.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like it. And that was the problem with going digital, is that kind of weight was missing.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing, too, I thought was so lame about this scene, and it's the only scene that I really had some issues with. It was the commander going, stop, and putting his hand out. I'm like, why? Like, what? Do you think your hand is going to stop a tank that is barreling
he's
at
British, and it's like that comedian said about the British who are polite and also their cops can't have guns. Is all they can do is go stop, or I'll say stop again.
But go back to when they blew up the TIE fighter there.
Yeah.
All right, those 3 people standing next to it shouldn't have been getting back up.
No, you're right. They should have been dead.
And that commander was one of them.
Yes, you're right.
And
he should have been dead. Kallus should have been at least severely injured.
Right.
No, I agree with you. So anyway, they go barreling through that thing and
get chased down by 2 scout bikes and another troop.
Right, and Kallus forces his way onto the transport, and all sorts of fighting goes on there.
And unfortunately, coming out of this city, we have miles and miles and miles of a perfectly straight road, which makes this sequence possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
No needing to swerve, no nothing. It's like
brought to you by the straightest road in America.
They're going through Death Valley.
I mean, I guess it would be like, if there isn't, it's just a field, and granted, we have roads like that in the desert that are
although it
straight.
is better lit than any road I have ever
lit
out in my life.
They got a ton. I was noticing
lights
how many street
everywhere.
lights they got.
I was like, wow.
So, but the sequence was
Vegas
okay.
in
I
the
liked
desert.
the scout trooper coming up and planting the detonator on the door and then blowing it. But then I didn't like that his bike comes up with no one on it, and Ezra's like, "Why is there an empty bike?" Huh? And where's the guy? Watch for the guy.
I thought that was kind of funny, only because he didn't realize there was no guy there, and it's kind of like, really, duh, hello, and poof, he gets hit. It's like, well,
but that goes back to the stormtroopers being dumb.
Right.
It's about time to see them being dumb.
well, and I liked showing the fact that they're
Yeah.
just as stupid at times.
Yep.
So. No, that was kind of cool. So Kallus gets onto the ship, and of course, all this firing happens at Kallus. The ghost
comes along, and
they shoot at Kallus, almost knock him out.
They finally take out the troop that's following.
Yeah, the ghost
can shoot that down,
can destroy it, but a TIE fighter
a walker can't either.
Yeah.
No, and a TIE fighter can't seem to take it down either. So in the meantime, they decide they got to get the Rodian on the ship, and as they're trying to get him on, Kallus, who had not fallen off the ship because they'd assumed he had, or the tank, he starts climbing up and trying to shoot at them.
He's got a strong grip.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he's hanging on by his fingertips at this point, but he's still got the gun. I'm like, what?
Well, it's like
magnetic gloves.
They train like this American Ninja Warriors. They really have grip, strong grip,
really good grip on that stuff.
Yeah.
Magnetic gloves.
There's all these
stickum. There's lots of stickum.
One thing you don't know is that everyone, when they do well in the Empire, in the Academy, they get a Death Star squeeze ball that's given to them as just like a gift.
Yeah,
congratulations! And all day they're just like squeezing those things.
Yeah. That's why Vader's going like this, because the squeeze ball never worked for him. So anyway, they basically take off at that point, and
Kanan does the craziest backwards jump I've ever seen in my life.
That was pretty cool, actually.
It was cool, except it was too exaggerated. He went up like 7 stories.
Yeah, that was like a Mace Windu move, like, and he hung in midair. I was like, whoa!
It's almost like, look at me.
But he still had to put the batteries in his lightsaber, though.
He did. I'm being shot at.
Quick! I gotta put it together and decel and go.
Ooh, red one. Ooh. Wrong battery.
So anyway, they get onto the ship, and at this point, while they're kind of fighting throughout the whole thing, Ezra manages to hit the Rodian's head kind of by accident.
Yeah, you headbutted him.
Headbutted him, yeah.
Well, but this is because the Inquisitor shows up with TIE fighters, and they start the sky chase.
Which the Inquisitor costume right there.
That was awesome.
His pilot costume is awesome.
Awesome.
I really liked that.
It was like a mixture of a TIE pilot costume, dirge, and you said the Mandalorian
the
Demigals, right? It had like a mixture.
It even had a little bit of the red Imperial
yeah
helmet shape to it. It was a neat outfit.
Had like my red visor. Did you notice that?
I'd like to see more of that.
Absolutely, stuff like that. That was cool.
I'd actually rather the Inquisitor look like that
all the time.
All the time. Then I'd be like, this guy looks bad.
So anyway, I absolutely agree. So he ends up kind of accidentally headbutting the Rodian, and the Rodian at that point reveals that
Ezra
reset his brain.
He's
happy to see Ezra.
He's happy to see him and glad to see you. Blah blah.
A little weird though. Ezra acts freaked out by him almost.
Well, I think it's because he's not expecting him to remember him. Like, it was all of a sudden just an instant boom. I remember you, and but then
I don't know.
It almost seemed like "Don't touch me." I don't know. It just seemed
like a teacher-student relationship there.
Well, I got the sense that this guy wasn't. Is that Rodian really old, or is he was a friend of the family? I guess he was probably an older friend of the family.
Oh, Rodian, you don't know how old they actually are.
True, and that's the thing. Is
I go back to something else. I am even wondering if he's kind of a friend of the family, but kind of not. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, he said he's a friend of the family, but not like.
Maybe he was partly the reason that his parents got taken away.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if maybe he
but then
played a role in it.
Why would he go looking for him though?
Who knows? So he basically reveals, and this is the big cliffhanger, that
the last sentence of the episode,
he knows where his parents are.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And yeah, so and we leave it at that. To be continued. And I have to admit, that was the first time I was like, oh, really? Oh man!
Now
you know,
I want to know what.
Now I want to know what happens. You know, so yeah. All right, so this episode, as we said, as far as I'm concerned, is like almost a 180 from the other one.
It was a lot better.
It was a lot better. I would actually give this one a solid 9. So far, best episode of the season. Lots of good action, even though there's some gamey things that happen. I liked the Sanar references. I liked the Baron reference. I mean, there were so many things that were in this that were cool. Were there little things that could have been fixed? Absolutely. But at least I kind of felt like they put some serious effort into a storyline for the first time in a while in this episode. And it's probably the first time I feel like there's now a potential continuing thread they can run with. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them that they could really kind of run off with. I felt like the Inquisitor felt like a bad boy for the first time.
Better, but
not totally
not
like
totally.
Darth Vader-ish, but it's
I
getting
mean, we're
there.
basing a lot of that on just one look.
Yeah, I know.
That looked really cool.
Yeah. And Callus, I thought, seemed a little bit more realistic this time around for being a bad guy. And overall, I thought a fairly well-rounded episode. I mean, is it the best Clone Wars episode? No. I think Clone Wars had better episodes, but it's the best Rebels episode so far. So I don't know how you guys felt about it. Whoever wants to go first. I give it a 9.
I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
An 8?
Yeah, the Inquisitor looked good, but he could have been badder.
Yeah.
Like I was saying.
You wanted that lightsaber deflection
Yeah,
thing.
it's just been awesome because no one would have saw the sniper shot coming at him. Not even him. And right at the last second, been able to
deflect it. Yeah.
Instead, just move his head.
Right.
Or, I don't even know if he really did move his head or not. It was just a miss or whatever. The big explosion when the TIE fighter got blown up.
Yeah.
I know I'm always wanting death and all that, but they're that close to get knocked down by the explosion.
Some of them should have been killed.
Well,
Your favorite part of Bambi was when the mom got shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have gotten up.
Gary's like, somebody should have got in with a shotgun and finished them all off.
Yeah.
No, he's even worse. He's like, couldn't we have seen the cleaning? That would have made the movie.
Yeah. Had the hunter come out and got it right there in front of Bambi. That'd been awesome.
I want to see the heart removed. Where's the heart?
I'm surprised Disney didn't do that.
I heard it was animated, but just due to length.
Actually, that's going to be in the special edition that'll come out of the vault in a couple of years. Yeah.
That's probably the only reason why I'd buy that.
Dark.
So, what did you think, Eric?
I'm going to give it an 8. I want to go 7.5. I want to give it just a hair off because
Wow, this is the first night where I think you and I are doing like higher than Eric. Wow.
I really thought it was a good episode. My fear is, again, are we
lowering the bar?
Are we comparing a cut on my arm to the fact that I didn't get amputated? It was good. It was better than the previous what we've seen.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed a lot of it. I thought it felt like it had better pacing. More happened. It flowed pretty well. It did a lot of reveals. It did a lot of connections. It had a lot of reference to things we like. The music, especially, we noticed a couple times that they kicked in with some good music.
Some really good music.
The Imperial March song was...
The Imperial March done as a parade march.
I like that version.
Yeah, actually, I do too. Like,
it was
I'm hoping,
upbeat.
I actually hope they release that. I don't know how weird is that, but that as a tune would actually be cool. I would stick that in my car and go to a con.
I could see some bands doing it as an actual halftime performance.
I see a Marching Man show coming on out of that.
So I could see a drumline type thing with that.
I could do something with that.
So yeah, I liked those elements of it. I still have my trouble with that they're really losing me when the action comes because it's very paced for a really young audience. And I think they can up that a little bit, and that takes some points off for me. But I mean, overall, I'll bump up that half point. I'll say 8. Okay. And say it was definitely, it feels like, especially with the to be continued, it feels like this is going to really start kicking in some story elements. I hope we're right. I hope that those really begin to tie.
Yeah, because like I said, it just didn't, up till this point, it doesn't feel that way yet.
No, it's been a lot of disconnected stories.
This is the first time I feel like, okay, now we're moving somewhere, and that's so. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we thought of this episode of. Actually, both episodes of Star Wars Rebels. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Head on over to our website at GalaxyCast.com. Click on that button that says Contact the GalaxyCast.
Yeah.
By the way, that's what it says, Contact the GalaxyCast.
Tell us what you thought about this last episode.
Yeah. Were you as enthralled with it as I was, or Were you more like Eric, kind of on the fence?
I'm more than that. If I was on the fence, it would have been a 5.
That's true. Yeah.
So I was definitely over the fence, but I think I was a little caught on the fence.
And
Your sleeves ripped. That's
Yeah,
what it is,
yeah.
And I do have to say that if
That's probably how I cut my arm.
Maybe. Yeah.
if Eric had to get amputated, I'd give it a 10.
Oh, wow.
Ouch.
Okay.
He wants to see me get clean and my heart cut out. And
This is starting to get ugly, people. We might be the ones that are going to buy it soon.
You're the one that brought it up.
I did. I did.
Okay, so
I'm
without
not
further
nice.
ado, like we like to say here in the Star Production Studios,
May
the force be with those who listen. Wow. That's right. You people with the cameras, you just saw way more than you should.
That was awesome.
I think that's probably one of the better episodes we've done. Yeah, so.
And it ran long, but it's because we went off for a half hour on conventions.
Well, and we also talked about 2 episodes this time around.
We
so
did,
That's
we did.
longer.
Well, we did an hour filler before this. So.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. That's
No, I mean, the news stuff was definitely worth it.
worth it, absolutely.
And then, like I said, we went off on a tangent, but I think it was an important tangent to cover.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it tied in,
I hope it was worth it for you folks. So, thanks again, everybody at home, and
See ya.
we hope to see you next time.